Hey guys, and welcome back to Raymore Repair. Hey, this is our next little project. This one actually runs and it gets driven on a regular basis, but we're going to put timing belts in it. This is a 1985 Goldwing SEi, and it's in pretty good shape for its age. Now the first thing we got to take off is this lower fairing section right here. And we're going to take it off, take them off the other side, and then we'll be getting closer down to the engine portion of this. So this thing has a screw right here. It also has a screw right here, and then there's one underneath. And we'll pull those three out, and then we'll see what else we need to do, but I think that'll get us pretty close. Remember Phillips head screws? This thing has number 3 Phillips head screws to hold the bodywork on. So, kind of dates it just a little bit, but that's okay. Here's our second screw. Now, if I remember right, there's some stuff we have to take off the back corner as well. But we'll get there in a minute. Been a long time since I worked on one of these. Used to do it on a pretty regular basis. The 1200 Goldwings, not so much the SEIs. This was Honda's first fuel-injected motorcycle for the masses, so to speak. And has one more down here that holds these two pieces together. Somebody's had some fun with fireworks. There we go. That'd be remarkably looser. Now, hey, that didn't, yeah, okay, that's fine. Looks like we got one back here on the back as well. We have another one right here, and it is kind of a chromy looking thing. And it holds on that little chrome piece that goes over the little trinkets. You got to have your doodads and trinkets and such on a Goldwing, I guess. I never had them, but people like them. I think that'll come off. Yep, there we go. Now then, this piece should be remarkably looser. I'll tell you what, when you're messing with this old bodywork like this, you want to be careful because it can cause problems in a hurry. We'll take that one out just for good measure. Get those caps off the spark plugs. There's your plugs. Of course, this is a horizontally opposed 4-cylinder. Now then, oh yeah, one right in here. I forgot all about it. If you're looking right in here, there's one right here. So we'll go ahead and pop him out of there. Like I say, only, what, 8 screws hold this one cover on. This is back before the days of a lot of grommets and tabs and what have you. There's still a few. Let's see if we can pull this out enough to get around the crash bar down here. Engine guard, I mean. Once we get in here, this thing has factory driving lights on it, so you have to take them very carefully. These connectors, they sure get crispy over time. So you want to push that in very carefully and pull that out. Now, if this didn't pull real easy, I would have grabbed this, but I try to cheat a little bit, and it does work. But you gotta be careful on this old bodywork. That gets that cover off, and this is the cover we're after. Our timing belt's set underneath it. And if it looks like it's tight in there, it is. So we may end up having to pull the radiator forward. Don't know yet. We'll try it without it, but I bet we do, because there's a bolt right here. And there's another one right about here that holds these these covers on. And like I say, the belt's set right underneath them. So I'm going to go pull the other side off, and then I'll be back. Now I'm afraid we are going to have to pull our radiator forward at least. I don't want to drain the coolant out of this thing, but I'm going to need to be more flexible than it is now. So to do that, I'm going to need to take this chrome cover off here, and there's already 2 bolts exposed at the bottom. So we'll get on that and see if we can make this thing a little more flexible. Really hoping not to do this. The less I disturb, the better. So I'm going to pull these two, actually they're nuts, they're studs in there. Pull those off and then we'll see what we got. That might give us enough room. It's gonna be tight. I'm gonna disconnect our horn just because I want the wires up and out of the way. These I can reroute up here and get in there just a little bit easier. Here is a drain hose. We can undo that one as well. Get him up out of the way because we got to get in here to another screw that looks just like that in there. I've got a special tool at work to do that. At least I think I still do. I haven't used it in years. But we'll see if we can get those knocked off there. I say we start with the other side because it's easier than this side. I don't know if it's going to be easier or not. We got a coolant hose that runs across this side. Probably something to do with the SEi. Don't really want to drop the coolant out of this. I'll be back. Well, I have made an unfortunate decision that I'm going to have to drain the coolant out of this thing. Drain right down here. Now, normally I would take this off, but I can guarantee you this O-ring here is petrified. But, you know, now that I think about it, I'm going to take it off anyway because this hose is going to be even more petrified. So if I take this loose, I have a much better chance of finding an O-ring to go there than I do finding a hose to go there. So I think I'll go ahead and take those two 8mm screws loose, and we'll be there. That looks really new and clean. We might just put that back in there. I was expecting to be kind of brown and dingy. But nope, that's pretty good shape. That's why we did that, so we can pull that radiator forward. Now this does mean we gotta take the top shelter off this thing to put the coolant back in it. And that's the part I was trying to avoid about removing the coolant. Oh boy. If it's not one thing, it's three more. Yep, that's one of the bolts. Yeah, it's drained. That'll be a pain putting it back in. But if it makes this part of the job way easier, that'll be better. Now then, this cover should pop up, and come off. I think it needs a nudge. There's the nudge it needed. Should slide off right like that. Huh? Yeah, it says L for left, in case you forget. All right, and here's our timing belt. This is the sweetheart we're after here. And she is a little loose, but not too bad. Let's check these tensioners too to make sure they're good. But we got to get the other side off first. Man, are we feeling that lucky? Yeah, maybe. Let's give it a try. All right, here's the one screw. The other one's way back in there somewhere. And I'm going to try to work around you here and see if you can't get some kind of a view. Oh man, this is going pretty good. We'll pay for it when it goes time to put the coolant back in, I guarantee you. That process is not going to be peachy. Because remember, this thing has the old travel computer up on the top too that we're going to have to deal with now. So, pull that out, get my hand in here maybe. Oh, that one's finger tight. It works. That's one. Here's another. This Allen wrench has been over torqued at some time. Now it likes to hang into every bolt you stick it in. Alright, let's see if we can slide this cover out of there nice and neatly. Let's give it a little nudge to knock it loose maybe. There we go. Woo, that went nice. There we are. Here's the other timing belt. Now we're going to replace these. This has the actual Honda ones in it. Now the gentleman asked me what I wanted, and I told him that he can either get me Gates ones or Honda ones. I didn't care which. He got me Gates ones, but I'm okay with that. And this is our replacement timing belt. Now, there's a couple of things about these that are different than the newer ones. And I'm going to try to show you. Get you down the light here. See how these have a square tooth? This square tooth tends to wear more than the newer ones. The GL1500s all have round tooths on the belt, and they don't wear as much. But this is an older style, and they use this in the GL1000s, the 1100s, and the 1200s. They all have this square tooth. And anyway, there's your number. It's a Gates T070, and made in USA. Woohoo! By the way, so is this bike. It was made in USA. Made in Maryville, Ohio, I believe. All right, we'll put some new timing belts in. We got to set our timing and get all that set up where we want it, and then we'll set it in. All right, now for one of the most critical parts of this is we need to set the timing marks. And you see this says up on here? It also says R for the right side, but it has an up, and there's a timing mark right here where this red mark is. It's actually a groove or a slot cut into the wheel. Now we're going to take and turn this thing around until we get all that to line up, and then we're going to verify that the other side lines up too. Very well should, consider the thing runs. And then we'll pull the belts. So I need to slide this sweetheart up in here. Now we're getting close. Let's see what that looks like. I want to line our timing marks up with this mark with that little tooth right there. That is pretty good. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to back off these, and those are the tensioners. There's a 12mm headed bolt here and one on the inside. The inside one we're just going to crack loose, and this one we're going to crack loose and push it down and then snug it back up so this stays completely slacked. And with any luck, our can will stay in place. If not, we know where to put it. All right, we'll try that again. I need to get a better vantage point to get this bolt knocked loose. So, you are now where I was, and I am now where you were. That's probably enough on that bolt. This bolt, yeah, that's what I remember. You can't get in there very good with a ratchet because it's in line with that frame. So let's get a short socket. Alrighty. We'll shove that down as soon as we get loose enough. Shove that down, and we'll tighten that bolt back up just a touch. Hold our tensioner at the least tension it can do. Then we'll slide this belt off. Now we're doing all this on the floor because I don't trust the mighty Harbor Freight lift to hold this GL1200 SEi machine up into the air. As most things at Harbor Freight, I try not to do more than about 2/3 of whatever it says its rated capacity is. So if this thing says it's a 1,000-pound lift, I'm not going to trust that past more than about 600 pounds or so. I have put my Valkyrie on this, and it held that, but I just don't want to find out that it's not going to hold on this machine. See that jump? We're going to have to retime that when we go back together. If you look right down in here, we have a pulse generator right there that we've got to take off. That's a crank position sensor. We got to get that loose in order to get the belt past it. At least it's way easier to. So that'll take a 10mm wrench, or possibly an 8. I think it's a 10. This one might be an 8. And we'll get that out of the way and continue on. Alright, this is the left side, and I'm hoping you can see this one better. We're going to loosen off the tensioner. There's that one, and get on our other one in here, the pivot bolt. Yeah, that was tight. And then we'll get our socket back. Push this thing all the way up. The other side goes down, this side's up. Tighten that up, and then we'll work our belt off. That cam is kind enough to stay put. Which makes sense. This side is number 2 and 4, and the other side is number 1 and 3. And we put it on top dead center number 1. So that means that over there, number 3 would be in between intake and exhaust, and that's what pulls it off. There we go. Alright, look at our belt. She don't look too bad. We're certainly doing this in time. And we'll take a look at our tensioners. It's in great shape. Now this is our Gates belt that we're putting on, so we'll get that thing put in here. I'll give you an idea of what we're looking at here. I'm not sure you're going to be able to see it, but inside here is a double stack pulley, belt pulley, and this is the one that comes over to this side, and the other one goes to the other side. These engines are offset a little bit. About, I don't know how far, probably an inch or so. They're offset. The pistons are offset from one another, so the connecting rods can sit side by side on the crankshaft. So we're going to put this belt on, and we'll go ahead and tension it and get it in place. Then we'll go back to the other side and set the cam where it needs to be, and get that belt put in. All right, here we go. Gotta work that belt down around the pulley, crankshaft. This has a tensioner on top, so we want to make sure that we line up our bottom pulley. Then we'll work our way around. That seems like a lot of slack down there, but we'll see how it works out when we're done. You work that down around there first, like that, and then work this slack this way. I think I want to turn this cam ever so slightly to help line that up. There we go, that's enough. Now we're in the groove. Finish working our belt up and over. There we go. You want to be careful putting this belt up over. You don't want to catch the edge of the teeth. You want to make sure they slide up and over. That way they're put. This mark is still there, so we're good there. And we're pretty decent on slack. So let's loosen off our tensioner bolt. And I do this by feel more than anything else. Not sure what the book says about it, but I like it kind of like it is right there. We know there's not a lot of hidden slack anywhere. Now we'll tighten this up, but when we do, we're going to hold that tensioner in place with a screwdriver or something. Under here, I'm going to twist just slightly. Hold that in place. You get these too tight, they whir. Whirring's not good. At least not in this case. I'll tighten off our other bolt. Now we'll go back later off camera and torque all this to spec. One side's done, we can put our pulse generator back in, and then we can set the other side in. We're making progress. Alright, we got our pulse generator put back in. Got it tightened down and torqued. Now we're going to slide this other belt in here around the crankshaft pulley. Make sure it's exactly where it needs to be. And it is, remember, we need to retime this side. See it jump from here to here. Can you see? Yeah, you can probably see what I'm talking about. So, since the top of this is the run without the tensioner, that means that's the pull side. We are going to set this back in place. Going up against the valve here. Let's see if that tooth will do it. Right there. What do you think of that? I think that's pretty good. That particular tooth right there. Now as you work the best of the belt down and around. Keep holding that. This one we're going to work up and over the tensioner pulley. If we can. There we go. Now, we'll tighten that tensioner off, because I got to keep holding this. We'll tighten that tensioner off, and then we'll check our timing. Now, you may notice we're not using the timing marks on the crankshaft. I'll assure you they are lined up, and we could pull the covers off and check that, but you're just going to have to trust me on that they are lined up. That's about where that tensioner wants to lay. Let me swap hands with my screwdriver here. I know all you can see is the back of my hand. I realize that. Grab the socket to work better. All right. Pretty good there. Pretty good there. I think I probably want that just a tiny bit more. The top run feels looser than the other side. So we'll back this off a touch. And we'll wink this up a little bit. Back that off a touch more. There we go. Go ahead and flip our ratchet. Like I said before, I am sure there is a specification for the tautness of the belt. Yep, that's better. What I'm looking at is whenever I put pressure on it, how hard is it to deflect? That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm feeling for. There's a hot rod FedEx driver. Trying to bang out his quota. Okay, I like that. Now our timing marks still on there. That's up. That's there. Bing, bada boom, just like it was. And our other side should still be the same because we haven't turned the crank. Now the next step is to turn the crank 2 full revolutions and line our marks back up to make sure, absolutely sure, everything is good. There's 1 revolution to the crank, half of the cam. That should do it. Yep, we're dead on our marks again. And no valves are hitting pistons. That's the best part. I like that part the best. This cover is going to go in here. Just like this, and under that coolant hose. Which I have probably heats up something in the EFI. Keeps the intake from freezing up or something. Let's get our horn out of the way. Lay down over our head like it needs to. If you go that around, you can feel it all kind of come into place. Don't forget our chrome backing plate there. I don't remember if there is a long and a short to this. I don't remember if this is a long one or the short one. I think this is the short one. Yep, I'd say the long one goes here. And the short one is going to go in here. Alright, we got the other side cover on. Now all we got to do is put this side on. We'll slide it in nice and gently. Slide it in nice and gently. There we go. On this side, we got to make sure we engage the center cover rubber as well. It feels pretty stinking good. I think we got lucky on that one. This side, the bolts are the same length, so that helps a lot. We use that as kind of an alignment, so the inside one is easier to get started. Okay, that one's started. We're going to reach in here with our electric ratchet and wind that in a touch. We'll get our manual ratchet and actually feel and see how tight it is. We'll go ahead and snug this one down. There we go. The engine part of this is done except for the coolant. And I really didn't like dropping the coolant because I got to dig the top of this thing off here to put coolant back in it. But with that said, I think we gained ground because there's no way in the world we're getting down in there and doing a lot of that stuff without pulling the radiator farther forward. So I think it was necessary to do on this. This is the first SEi model that I have done the belts on, but I've done them on many 1100s, 1200s, and 1500s. And the 1200s are a little tighter. The 1100s you can kind of get in there and get everything loose. But they do not have the pickup coil in there, at least not on the earlier model 1100s. So I think this was probably the right thing to do. And we're going to put different coolant in it anyway, fresh coolant. So we'll know that's been done. All right, on to the next step. Get the radiator mounted back up, get her sealed up. Alrighty, gotta get our horn and stuff set on here. Then I see one of our nuts over here. Wah, wah, wah. Got it. There we go. We'll go around the other side and put that bolt in. Alrighty, we got our coolant back in it. Got it taken care of. Strange thing about cameras, you have to hit record. So you just have to trust me, that was done. So we're going to go ahead and put our side covers back on now, or our lowers. So I'm going to sneak in here and hook up this wire that goes to this driving light. Okay, that's done. There we go, we had to get that vent around and get it routed right. It's kind of a pain in the butt. Now we're ready to actually start putting some screws in. That's pretty exciting. We're going to start with this one up here at the top. And once you start these, and you kind of wiggle the plastic a little bit and get it over the collar so you don't tear up the plastic as that collar goes through. It'll chew it up. Next, we're going to work on probably our bottom ones down here, but we got to put this piece in. This is a little piece, and it just sits in between these two pieces and gets clamped in here. Seems like there ought to be more to hold it than that, but there isn't, and that's okay. This is a lower bolt because it looks kind of cruddy. Then there's this one right down here. Kind of like that. Now we kind of got ahead of ourselves on this screw, because remember we got to put that chrome over to the top of the spark plugs. So we will remove this one. Try to get its collar and everything. Set that down and grab our chrome cover. It sits here kind of like this. It just slides into place and it goes behind the tab on the other part of that fairing. Kind of like that. Bada bing, bada boom. Now we can put this one back in. Let that piece is in place. And then this one, he goes right here. Looks like we're lined up fairly well. Like that. And then this one, he sits up here and kind of just makes all this pretty. Sits around the outside edge of the fairing there and the inside edge of everything else. Kind of like so. And then you can't forget this. Nobody's down with brown if you can cover it up with chrome. I mean, it would be silly to think that brown would be good enough if you can cover it with chrome. I don't think my screw actually started. And this side is now on, so we can move on to other things. Now, if you want to take a look at this thing, this is what it looks like underneath the cover. The radiator cap lives way down here, right where my screwdriver is pointing. You might be able to see it. Of course, you have our fuse box, our coils, a reservoir on this thing. This one is cracked, so it can't be filled up. I filled it up, and this was the result. Yeah, it did that. So it has to be down below the bolt hole. So this particular one you don't fill up. Gas caps underneath here, of course. This is a computerized box thingamajigger. But that's what it looks like underneath here. It is one well-packed machine. If you want to get to the air filter, it's right down in there. So you got to take all this stuff off in order to get down to it. That's not our job today. Yeah, we're doing timing belts, and it's turned into a project. Let's put our top cover back on and see how that works out for us. I think we're kind of in place. A screw in each corner, basically. One here, one here. Then the same story over here. There's one down below here on this side. Comes in from this side, I guess I should say. And one up here. Turn your handlebars on you. You probably won't be able to see a thing. There's a little brown cover that goes here. Has anybody seen it? Looks like this one. We'll go ahead and set this one in place. Oh, we got a problem here, Houston. We got our wire trapped. Remember the days when you plugged helmets in instead of Bluetooth? Yep, that's what that is. This has a knobber thing It goes in there, and then the bottom just squishes in the hole. Yeah, and then just give her some love. Silicone spray probably would have been a great idea. Why is everything so difficult? There we go. Get it just right. Bada bing, she goes in. All right. Put that cover back on. We got a pocket to put in over here. There's 4 screws, 1 in each corner of the pocket. Kind of line these up. There's 2 of them. They do not need to be real tight. They just screw into little rubber plugs in there. We got to plug in our travel computer. Yep, it's a travel computer. You can see we got these plugs and a couple others. So our first ones are going to be this sweetheart. Goes right here. Push it in until it clicks. And we have another one over here. Hit clicks. And then if you notice, these have blue and red on them. So you want to match up the colors. They'll only go in one way. And then they just slide in. Kind of weird connectors for a Goldwing, except for the helmet stuff. Audio. But since this isn't audio, there we go. Those are all plugged in. They all just kind of lay nice and gently down in there. Flip the little flipper thing. Here's a view of the top of the bike all back together. We got the seat on, the side covers on, the saddlebag lids. All that stuff is done. This thing is pretty much ready to roll. Well, I think that was a pretty successful test ride. Runs out okay, like a 1200 Goldwing does. Fuel injection is not perfect by any means, but it's still fuel injecting, and I think that's a win. So, anyway, thanks for watching. God bless, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Bye.